Today we are learning about absolute value reflection. So what happens to a graph when you take the absolute value of either the entire function, so it's on the outside, or if it's on the inside? So as we already know, if you're putting the absolute value outside, this is going to affect your y. So what this means is that all of your y values, if they're negative, they're going to become positive. So negative y's become positive, whereas your positive y values stay the same. So that's when you have absolute value outside of your f of x. So let's see what this looks like, and we're going to write down what happens to our graph. So if we take a look at this first function right here. So if we look at what parts of this graph do we have positive y values, because those are going to stay exactly the same. So our positive y value is anything that's above the graph, which is this part right here, and this part right here, right? So that's all above the x-axis. This is all where your y's are positive. So that's going to stay the same. So when I take my absolute value of f of x, this is when my y's are being affected, this part stays the same. So I got negative 10 and 5. And then it goes all the way until negative 7, 0. So this part does not change. Same thing over here, all these positive y values don't change. So I have, it starts at 4, 0, goes up to 7, 4, and then 10, 4. So this entire part does not change. Now what I want to do is make my negative y values positive. So let's take our important point right here. So before this was at negative 4, negative 5. If I change my y value so that's positive, and it's still going to stay at x value of negative 4, but now my positive 5 is going to go up here. I'm going to connect those dots. So see how before it was negative 4, negative 5? Now it's going to be up at negative 4, positive 5, because my y value has become positive. Same thing for this next important point right here. Before it was 0, negative 5, it's going to become 0, positive 5. Again, I'm going to connect those points. So this is what my absolute value on the outside of f of x looks like. So notice what's happened here is that all of the values underneath your x-axis have become reflected above the x-axis, because all your negative y values have become positive. So graphically, this is what it looks like. On your graph, what has happened is that all your values under the x-axis are reflected up. So whenever you are affecting your y value, positive y's stay the same, all the negative ones have become reflected above the x-axis. Now let's look at what happens if you take the absolute value inside of your function. So now it's affecting your x. So similarly, your negative x's are going to become positive, whereas your positive x's stay the same. So again, let's look at what this looks like when your positive x's stay the same. So this time, your positive x's are on this side of your y-axis. This is all your positive x's. So this side of your graph right here is going to stay exactly the same. So I'm just going to copy this side down onto this side, because this is what I'm taking my absolute value of x now. So it starts down here at negative 5, 0. It goes up to, or 0, negative 5. It goes up to 4, 0. Goes up to 7, 4. And then 10, 4. So again, your positive x's, nothing happens to them. Just like in this case, your positive y's, nothing happens. Same thing, positive x's, nothing happens. Now, I want all my negative x's to become positive. So if I make my x over here positive, so if instead of a negative 1, I'm going to make it a positive 1, what happens is that my y value is now going to be exactly the same on this side as it was on this side. So I'm just replacing all of my negative x's with the positive x, So what happens here is I'm going to be reflecting all of these onto this side. So for example, over here, if this was a -4 and I'm making it positive, +4 is this point right here, so it's going to have the exact same point on this side. So I'm just replacing it with the positive x. So same thing over here, this is 7, 4. If I'm making my -7 +7, I'm going to end up with the exact same point right there. And then same thing, -10 is also going to become 4. So I'm replacing all of my negative x's with what my positive x's were, which was exactly what was on this side. So graphically, what this looks like is that the left side of your graph, so the left half of the graph, is replaced by a reflection of the right half. So we're completely getting rid of the left side of the graph and just replacing it with whatever was on the right side. Okay, let's see another example of this. So if we go to our next example, so this is now f of x. For our first graph, we're going to graph the absolute value of f of x. So this is what I'm taking the absolute value of y. So all my positives y's stay the same. So I'm going to start here at -10. Up here is my next point, which is at -9, 6. All the way down to this point right here. Don't forget the 0 to include the 0. -3, 0. Okay, so this is above the x-axis. What else is above the x-axis? So this part right here is this little piece right here. So all these are your positive y's, which don't change. So this is 6, 0. It goes up to 8, 2, and then down to 9, 0. So all of this has stayed the same. And now we're going to be reflecting our other points. So let's start off with this point right here. Was 0, -3. We're going to make a 0, +3 instead. Connect it with the line. This point was 3, -3. Now we're going to make it 3, +3. Connect it with a line. Connect those, and then we finally have this last point right here, which was 10, -2, and we're going to make it 10, +2. So it looks like this. So notice how all of my y values that were negative have now been reflected above so that they're positive. So everything is now above the x-axis. For our next graph, we're now finding the absolute value of x. So this is when we are keeping all of our positive x's. So this entire side of my graph stays the same. So I got -3, 0, -3, 3, -3, 6, 0, 8, 2, 9, 0, 10, -2. So this entire side of my graph stays the same. And I'm going to be replacing the left side, all my negative x's, with whatever was on my right side. So now I'm just reflecting all these points over here. So this is 3, -3. Now it's going to be on this side, -3, -3. This is 6, 0. I'm going to reflect it, so it's going to be -6, 0. 8, 2 becomes -8, 2. 9, 0 becomes -9, 0. And then 10, -2 becomes -10, -2. So what's on my right side is now reflected onto my left side. So it should be symmetrical about your y-axis. Okay, one last super quick example. Let's flip the page. So first for this problem, we're going to graph this. So from this squared, right away we should know the parent function is x squared, which has a parent function of 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. Same thing on both sides. That's my parent function. And the transformations that have happened here, -2 means I'm going right 2. -9 means I'm going down 9. So all of my points are being moved right 2, down 9. So here's my new vertex. The shape stays the same, so it's still 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 on both sides, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is my graph f of x. Now I'm going to do the same thing to to this graph that I just did before. So the first thing I want to do is find my absolute value of f of x. So this is when it's on the outside, it's affecting your y. So what this means is everything above your x-axis, all your positive y's stay the same. So everything above, so this -1, 0, and all this above it, so just this arrow, keep on going. And this 5, this arrow keeps on going as well. So those two stay the same because it's all, those are your positive y's. Now everything underneath your x-axis is going to be reflected above. So this point right here, before it was 0, -5, now it's going to become 0, +5, because I'm making my y positive. 1, -8 becomes 1, +8. Again, I can connect my points. 2, -9 becomes 2, +9. 3, -8 becomes 3, +8. And then 4, -5 becomes 4, +5. Again, connect my points and notice how everything underneath my x-axis has become reflected above the x-axis. So I changed all my negative y's to become positive. Now for the second graph, we're going to find now the absolute value of x. So again, we're keeping all of our positive x's now. So this right side stays exactly the same. So we're going to start at the 0 here. 0, -5. 1, -8. 2, -9. 3, -8. 4, -5. 5, 0, and it keeps on going. So this side stays exactly the same. The right side of this does not change because your positive x's stay the same. And whatever is on your positive x's are not going to replace your negative x's. So on this side, we had a 1, -8, it becomes -1, -8. 2, -9 becomes -2, -9. 3, -8 becomes -3, -8. 4, -5 is now -4, -5. And this is 5, 0, and now -5, 0, same thing, and it keeps on going up as well. So your x's have been reflected across your y-axis so that all of your negative x's were replaced by positive ones.